In this video, we are going to review how to evaluate a function. Number 1 says f of n equals negative 3n plus 1, and they want us to find f of 4. So because they replaced n with 4 in our function notation, then we're going to replace n with 4 in our equation. So to complete this evaluation, we will say f of 4 equals negative 3, and instead of n, we'll place our 4 in parentheses and keep our plus 1 from the original function. So our step 1 will be to replace n with 4. Alright, so after we have substituted in the value, now we're ready to simplify. So our f of 4 will equal, first we'll multiply negative 3 times 4, which gives me negative 12, and we'll bring down our plus 1. So in this step, we multiply. And then to get our final result, we're going to take negative 12 plus 1, which gives us a negative 11. So to get that negative 11, we add. So when we evaluate f of n equals negative 3n plus 1 for f of 4, we end up with the value negative 11. So remember, what this tells us is the point where x is 4 and y is negative 11 is on this line. So when we evaluate functions, all we're doing is finding a value for when n or x is 4, what is our y value. Alright, so for number 2, if we're going to evaluate and explain our steps, we have a new function, f of a equals negative a minus 5, and they want us to find f of negative 2. So remember that this negative a is actually negative 1a minus 5. So you have to remember that negative represents a multiplied by negative 1 as a coefficient of a. Alright, so our first step is the same as the last problem. We're going to substitute our value in, but instead of substituting in a 4, we're going to substitute in what they tell us to replace a with, which is negative 2. So f of negative 2 will equal negative 1 times negative 2 minus 5. So all we did was replace our a value with what they told us to replace it with, a negative 2. So our first step, replace a with negative 2. Alright, so now we're ready just to simplify the right-hand side. So we multiply negative 1 times negative 2, which gives us a positive 2. Bring down our minus 5. So to explain our step, we'll say we multiplied. And then now we simplify even further and do 2 minus 5, which will give us negative 3. So to simplify that, we subtract. And that is our final answer. So remember that this tells us the point negative 2, negative 3 is on this line. So again, all we're finding is a y value for this x value. Alright, number 1 and 2 had us evaluating for numbers. Now 3 and 4 are going to have us evaluate for expressions. So when we get our answer, like we did in number 1, got negative 11, and in number 2 we got negative 3, we're actually going to have expressions as our answers for 3 and 4. Alright, so this says g of n equals negative n plus 2, find g of 1 minus n. So all it's telling us to do is replace our n and our function with 1 minus n. Again, remember, since we have that negative out in front, it's actually negative 1n plus 2. So g of 1 minus n equals negative 1, and then in parentheses put our 1 minus n, what we're substituting in for our n value, and then bring down our plus 2 from our original function. So now we have to simplify. So to simplify, we have to distribute first. So we get negative 1 times 1 is negative 1, and negative 1 times negative n is a positive n. Bring down our plus 2 from our original equation. Now we're ready to collect like terms, so we do negative 1 plus 2, which will give us a positive 1 plus n. So our answer for g of n minus 1 ends up being 1 plus n. I'm sorry. For g of 1 minus n ends up being 1 plus n. Now we can't forget to explain our steps because our directions say explain your steps. So our first step was to replace n with 1 minus n. And remember, always put that in parentheses because it is an expression. Then after we replaced n with 1 minus n, then we distribute. Then we collect like terms to get our answer. And so our answer is 1 plus n. All right, let's try one more. Number 4 says f of t equals 4t plus 2. Find f of 3 minus t. So we're going to replace t with 3 minus t. So f of 3 minus t equals 4. And then instead of t, we're going to do 3 minus t, and then bring down our plus 2 from our original equation. So our step is replace t with 3 minus t. All right, then we're going to simplify by distributing. So you're going to do 4 times 3, which is 12, and 4 times negative t, which is negative 4t, and then bring down our plus 2 from our original function. So our step is to distribute. And then finally collect our like terms, our numbers 12 and 2. So 12 plus 2 will give us 14 minus 4t. So that step is to collect like terms. Alright, so this video reviewed how to evaluate a function and explain your steps in evaluating a function given a number or an algebraic expression.